mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week and surprising trade as we are recording day of the Desmond Bane trade. And out of nowhere, I'm surprised they were shopping Desmond Bane, Austin. But if you get a deal like this, I understand it.
Yeah, I don't even know if they were shopping or someone for the Magic organization just called them up and said, "Hey, would you guys give away Bane if we gave you 4 firsts and a pick swap?" And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Memphis won this trade," but I like this for the Magic for a couple reasons. One, Desmond Bane's still a good defender, so they're not getting worse on defense. He's not as good as KCP defending, but he's still a good defender. And you need more shooting. In the East, with Tatum's Achilles tear and Giannis potentially leaving the conference, could be as open as ever next year. And I think jumping on that is a smart decision.
Yeah, I don't hate Bane on the Magic. I just think the price was pretty high because you do have KCP. You talk about his defense. To me, what we talked about over the years is the Magic don't have a lot of shooting. And to me, Desmond Bane is perfect for that. It's just now, this feels like an all-in move, and I don't know if they're ready to be fully all-in. But given the Celtics' injuries, they could be very good, but I don't know if this is going to be continued success. But Desmond Bane, just his shooting alone, I think really helps the Magic, and he's younger than KCP, and they're already a great defensive team. It's just the 4 first-round picks plus KCP and Cole Anthony seems like a huge overpay.
I don't know about a huge overpay. Bane could have been a 25-point per game scorer a couple of years ago, and he did have a down year, but I think that's partially because of some of the injuries that happened. And I do believe that Bane can turn into an amazing player for the Magic. And they still have a very young roster. I mean, they have Suggs, they have Banchero, they have Franz Wagner, and now they have Bane. And at center, you can either go Wendell Carter or Goga. So they're building a pretty good roster here, and I understand why some people would think it's. I think it's an overpay, but I don't think it's severe. I don't think it's crazy overpay because the Magic are getting the piece that they need. Right, this is what they desperately need, and with a shooter, especially with Bane's volume of shooting, this opens the floor a lot for Banchero and Franz to attack in the paint like they want to, or attack in the mid range as well. And I think they could contend. I mean, they made the playoffs the last 2 years. They have experience in that. Bane has played in the playoffs as well. So they're going to have guys that have played there. And, I mean, I think it's just going to come down to coaching and maybe finding another centerpiece or another couple of bench pieces. But I like the roster as is. And I do think that while it is an overpay, I don't think it's severe because this is directing exactly what they need. It's a player that could average 25 points per game. He won't do that for the Magic because the Magic are a slower pace and also have 2 scorers in front of him. But he brings that level of security that if a player misses, he can give you a lot of points. And while KCP giving up and Cole Anthony, I'm not that worried about giving up Cole Anthony. I don't think that's much. And then KCP, yeah, that hurts to give up, but the Grizzlies are going to have to hit on those picks to make them worth it. Now, yes, giving up 4 is a lot, but if the Magic are really good, it's not as much as we think it is. because those players are so young that they're buying in, yes, but they're buying in for the next 10 years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not buying in for the next, or they're buying in for the next 8 years, if you want to say that. They're not buying in for the next 3 years and giving up all those picks. If they're getting up for the next 3 years, then yeah, I would have a little bit of concern. But you got to remember how young the roster is and how young Bane is. These players are going to be on the Magic. Again, if you just go 8 years, that is long enough to make up those 4 draft picks. That's only half your picks. But if you're giving up 4 picks for 3 years, that's all your picks over that time span, right? So I don't think this is that much of an overpay. It is an overpay, I'll admit that. But because of how young the roster is, because they address the need they desperately we're going to need to contend, and of how young the players are, I think this is not a bad trade for the Magic at all.
Yeah, and kind of talking about the overpay, because I did say huge overpay. It is tough to look at the market right now, because there have been a lot of trades, and of course the Lucas trade getting talked about, but I think you can view that as a one-off. And the age, I think, is a factor, because Rudy Gobert got traded for 4 first-round picks, and I think a couple players. So it is tough to gauge the market on what is worth a player. And he does fit the need of what they need. He does fit the need of a shooter, as we've talked about already in this episode. It's just, to me, I think they could have saved one of those picks for a future trade, or maybe they draft a player. Just kind of that lack of assets. But you do bring up a good point of the picks. Maybe they don't get used correctly, but they also do have a young roster, as Bane has a lot of experience and is only 26. You do have Banchero and Franz Wagner. So it is an overpay, but we'll have to see how it goes. Now I think this is also a new situation for the Grizzlies, because you have Ja, but he's dealt with injuries, and they haven't quite lived up to the form they were just a few years ago when they were top of the West. They just fired the coach. So to me, even though this is a fantastic deal for the Grizzlies, because we do agree it's an overpay, this does feel like a step back from the Grizzlies.
Yes, I definitely think that they're going to have some trouble filling in that role. They struggled with they're going to have, maybe they're committing to Scottie Pippen Jr., who played well in the play-in game and was playing well for the majority of the year. You have some other options there. Jalen Wells is also starting to perform. But yes, this is a step back, because Bane was averaging 20 points or 19 points per game last year. But again, I just really think this trade is an overpay, but I think both teams win this trade. Because, again, if you're the Grizzlies, right, he's off your team, so you're thinking we now have 4 new picks and a pick swap. So, good. But if you're the Magic, you're like, okay, let's say we have Bane for the next 8 years until he's 34, and he plays well until then, right? Because that seems like a reasonable range to be playing well until, especially in this day and age. Well, that's 8 years. We gave up 4 picks. That's only half the picks we gave up. And all of the players we have are young. I think for most teams, especially now, you need veteran players around you, and they don't really have many veteran players on the roster now. I mean, Wendell Carter, I guess you can count as a veteran, but Jalen Suggs is really young. Even though Bane's been in the league for a while, I wouldn't consider him like a true veteran. I mean, he's only 26. And then Banchero and Franz are very young. So if they could get some veteran players around this team, which I think they can do pretty easily in the offseason, then this team looks really good to me. And like I said, the Magic, I think the Magic and Grizzlies can both come out of this with a win, because I think if you're I understand why the Magic made the trade. Because again, if you're looking to the future, if you can secure these players, you're not going to have to worry about your shooting guard, small forward, and power forward for a while, right? Like a very, very long time. And Suggs is still really good. So as long as injuries don't derail that, then they should have their 4 for a very, very long time. So you don't actually have to draft for that. You need to draft for bench roles and other guys that can give you a spark, but not necessarily your best player. So, but then look at the Grizzlies, like you said, they're taking a step back, but also getting 4 first makes it a lot easier to build or to draft another Bane, right? To draft another guy that can fill his role and give you the 3-point production and point production that he gave you. So I like this trade for both sides.
I I can see how both teams win this trade. To me, it's easier with the Grizzlies because of the potential of those picks. Okay, you have the potential of those players you draft. Now, whilst
Well, but you actually have to draft the good players, right? I mean,
yeah,
we've seen. I've already seen like pictures and videos regarding like the worst 4-pick stretch like of all time, and you look at like the Hornets where they drafted basically nobody, and you look at the Bulls, they also had one where they drafted basically nobody. You have to hit on those picks. I think it's easier for the Magic to win the trade because they're going to be in the playoffs next year. I mean, the East is so bad that they're going to be in the playoffs next year. And for the Grizzlies to win the trade, it's not about them being good. It's about them actually utilizing the picks that they got from the trade. So if the Grizzlies are in the playoffs next year, right? But the pick did nothing. That's not saying they won the trade necessarily. So I think it's a little bit harder for the Grizzlies to win the trade, especially because, like I said, the Magic are going to be good, so their pick is going to be higher in the draft or lower in the draft. Like they're going to be in the 20s. So I think it'll be easier for the Magic to win it, but I could definitely see either team winning the trade.
yeah. So I'm on the opposite side. I feel it's harder for the Magic because you got to win with the players you got, which is Bane. And yes, they could be good. To me, though, them winning the trade is being successful. I don't think they have to win a championship. Of course, if they do that, then they do win the trade. But I don't think that's the minimum. I do think you have to be competitive. You have to be in the first.
You have to make an
win the
Eastern
first.
Conference final.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Or over 8 years, which gives you a good amount of time.
As long as this like foursome is on the team where it's Suggs, Bane, Franz Wagner, and Banchero, then yes, I do believe that you have to make an Eastern Conference final appearance to win this trade.
Which
Or to come
could
straight
be
out to win.
easier. Yeah, you have to get close to a championship. You don't need to win a championship because it's not that big. It's just you're getting a guy and he has to be a contributor. Like it can't be Kyrie, like what Kyrie did on the Celtics. You kind of have that trade. That one,
Except that trade was horrible for both teams because Isaiah Thomas played 10 games for the Cavs. So
yeah. And it's just Kyrie. The Celtics actually went farther without Kyrie. So if the Magic go farther than Bane, it doesn't really mean they won the trade. So that's kind of a thing. But an unexpected move, but a fascinating move for both sides, kind of as we both are in agreement of the change. And the Grizzlies take a step back in a competitive West.
yeah. This is a wait and see type of trade, especially because of how young they are. Because even if they're not that great next year and losing the first round, again, they're so young that it's really just them learning more than it is the trade not working. Because we still have to see Banchero and Franz Wagner actually perform in a playoff stage. And those are going to be your best two players, not Bane.
Yeah, Bane's going to be a contributor, but he doesn't have to be the best player. To me, he has the potential in like some games to be that best player, kind of what we saw with the Grizzlies. But really, the shooting it gives them a young shooter, which they just signed KCP last year. But now you have a younger version of him, not as well defensively as you mentioned, but shooting wise, I think that's a huge win for them. And he's already on the contract for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So let us know your thoughts on the trade. Do you see other random trades happening? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.